All right, question 4a. This one for 8 marks, saying that you're given some information about the numbers of doctors and nurses and what they're paid. And it says, for question 4a, using a supply and demand diagram or diagrams, explain why it might be that doctors have higher average weekly earnings than nurses. So if you're using this diagram, first of all, make sure that you get the labeling right. If you're talking about a labor market diagram, it's wages on the y-axis, and you can say quantity on the x-axis, and make sure that you label these, not prices, but wages. People did lose marks for that very point. Then you're using the case study to make some explanations, basically to say that because doctors require more training, the training for doctors takes longer than it does for nurses. It tends to mean that the supply curve for doctors is less than it is for nurses, and it's more inelastic, people would say. And then another point that's really relevant is to say the demand for doctors at any given price, at any given wage level, is going to be higher. And people made good arguments by saying that it's because doctors are the ones who are actually curing the disease. They're more versatile in their function as to the hospitals who are going to employ them. So therefore, at any given wage, we'd rather have a doctor than a nurse at that wage. And so therefore, you're just explaining the diagram is to say that, with reference to the figures, the inelastic supply curve and the higher demand curve means that the wage for doctors is going to be more than the wage for nurses. And you might even make reference to the fact that the quantity of doctors is less than the quantity of nurses, which is supported by the diagram. And I'm looking through the mark scheme for this question. And so 2 marks for a diagram, 4 marks for contextual explanation, and then that's AO2, and then 2 marks for explaining it in theoretical terms. If you're explaining it using the diagram, you're going to be climbing up through those levels pretty easily. And a lot of people did. So well done for those people who answered that question really well.